All right, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are exploring something that is honestly just absolutely mind-blowing. We're looking at the architecture of human awareness. We're going to map out the direct, undeniable connection between the hard, wet neurobiology of your physical brain and the deepest, most expansive states of consciousness you can possibly experience. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. We're talking about a literal physiological blueprint for completely changing how you experience reality.
So I want to challenge you right off the bat here. Take a second right now and just notice your current breathing. Most of us, we treat respiration as just a biological necessity, right? It's just background noise, keeping the engine running. But what if it's actually the literal doorway to altered states of consciousness? The sources we're exploring today suggest we need to treat the body like an architecture, a temple even, where the breath is the master key. It is quite literally a biological remote control for modulating your entire nervous system.
To really get why this matters, we have to look at the huge contrast between two very different mental states. You know that feeling when you have like 50 browser tabs open in your brain, music is blasting from one of them, and you have absolutely no idea which one it is? Yeah, that's the beta waking mind. It's the stressful, high-frequency default state of the modern world. Just racing thoughts, anxiety, and this constant, exhausting outward focus. But on the flip side, we have the theta deep mind. This is your restorative inner sanctuary. It's where intuition lives, where profound silence and vivid internal imagery happen. The entire goal of our deep dive today is figuring out how to actually pack up and move from that anxious, tab-heavy beta state right into the quiet sanctuary of theta.
But there's a catch. You've got a biological gatekeeper standing in your way, and it's called the Default Mode Network, or DMN. You can basically think of this network as the biological seat of your ego. It's the part of your brain that lights up like a Christmas tree during rumination, anxiety, and all that endless self-referential monkey mind chatter. And crazy enough, the DMN consumes a massive amount of your brain's metabolic energy even when you think you're just resting. So the texts point out that to reach true inner stillness, we actually have to biologically downregulate this specific network. We have to reach in and turn the volume down on the ego just to save our energy and our sanity.
Section 1. Mapping your brainwave states. Let's look at the specific rhythms, the neural oscillations measured in hertz. This is basically the fundamental language of your nervous system. Now, what's really interesting here is how vastly different your experience of reality is depending on the frequency. Up at the top, you've got gamma, hitting up to 100 hertz. This is peak cognitive insight, that sudden aha moment where everything just clicks. Below that is beta, for active, waking life. Then alpha, which feels like being completely in the zone, a state of relaxed alertness and effortless flow. Drop deeper and you hit theta, the realm of deep meditation, vivid dreams, and sudden emotional releases. And finally, way at the bottom is delta, between 0.5 and 4 hertz. That's the heavy, completely unconscious restorative deep sleep where your body does all its repairing.
Let's zoom in on 13 to 30 hertz for a second, the beta frequency. Because this is where most modern people are living almost all day long. It's a state of high arousal, logic, and task focus, sure, but it is also the ultimate breeding ground for stress loops and overthinking. When you are stuck in high beta, you can literally feel it in your physical body. Your chest gets tight, your breathing becomes super shallow, like it's trapped right at the top of your lungs. Your inner dialogue gets really loud, time feels aggressively pressing, and you're just caught in a constant state of alert management. It is an absolutely exhausting place to be permanently stuck.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that theta, operating between 4 and 8 hertz, that is our transformative target. This is the liminal space, that twilight state right between waking and sleeping. As you drop into theta, blood flow actually shifts away from your prefrontal cortex, which physically quiets down its relentless editorial commentary. You literally lose the biological hardware required to overthink. The sources describe this as the exact frequency ancient prophets and contemplatives accessed to hear the still, small voice. When you hit this state, you feel this sudden, warm wave of physical heaviness, followed by profound inner silence and deep emotional processing. It really is the ultimate doorway.
Section 2. The biological remote control.
I absolutely love this poetic metaphor from the source material. The breath is a doorway, and every doorway leads somewhere. This is where we encounter what is basically an absolute biological loophole. The pure brilliance of respiration is that it's the only major system in the human body that is both entirely involuntary, keeping you alive while you sleep, and fully under your voluntary control the second you choose to take the wheel. It is the singular, awe-inspiring bridge between your conscious mind and your autonomic nervous system.
When you take control of that doorway through slow diaphragmatic breathing, you're engaging with pure biology. As your diaphragm moves, it literally mechanically massages the vagus nerve. And this massive nerve is the primary conduit of your parasympathetic nervous system. So that physical massage actually signals your heart to slow down, it optimizes your heart rate variability, and it forcefully shifts your brain out of stress mode and straight into rest and digest mode. It's a gentle, internal massage that wields sheer biological power over your body's stress response. And this perfectly illustrates how different breath waveforms engineer entirely different states of consciousness. Think about practices like the breath of fire. That's a rapid, forceful exhale that massively spikes sympathetic arousal. You are literally weaponizing your breath to wake up a sluggish nervous system and push it into high beta. But then compare that to deep theta practices, things like rhythmic humming or gentle circular breathing. These waveforms stretch out the exhale, inducing this hypnotic, trance-like state that actually allows the body to purge stored emotional weight. Two completely different breathing patterns, two completely different realities.
Section 3. The Master Breathwork Guide.
First up is the absolute foundation of everything, coherent breathing. It's stunningly simple, but honestly, it is incredibly powerful. You just inhale smoothly through your nose for 5 seconds, and then exhale smoothly through your nose for 5 seconds. No pauses at the top, no pauses at the bottom. It's just a continuous, seamless wave. Now, why 5 seconds? Because this rhythm creates exactly 5.5 breaths per minute, which happens to be the precise biological resonant frequency of the human cardiovascular system. When you hit this exact frequency, your blood pressure instantly stabilizes. Your heart rate and your breathing lock into this perfect, synchronous dance, creating maximum nervous system coherence. You are mathematically dropping your brain right into a calm, focused alpha state.
Next is the 4-7-8 relaxation protocol. For this one, you inhale for 4 counts, you hold for 7, and then exhale with a massive whoosh out of your mouth for 8. The absolute magic here happens during that 7-second hold. That gentle retention allows carbon dioxide to build up in your bloodstream just enough to strongly trigger the vagus nerve. Doctors literally refer to this specific breath ratio as a biological tranquilizer for the nervous system. It forces your brain to drop rapidly out of high alert beta, transitioning you almost instantly into restorative alpha and theta states. It's absolutely the perfect technique if you need to crush acute anxiety or cure a bout of sleeplessness.
Now, the sources do also detail some advanced techniques like holotropic or circular breathing. This involves deep, continuous mouth breathing for extended periods of time. But listen, be aware, this requires immense respect. It physically alters your blood chemistry, inducing temporary respiratory alkalosis. This means you will actually physically feel the pH of your blood shift. Your hands might start tingling, your lips can go numb, and you will definitely feel intensely lightheaded. Because it can trigger really profound somatic emotional releases and deeply altered consciousness, you should absolutely only do this in a safe, prepared space, ideally with a trusted sitter or facilitator guiding you.
And all of this builds into the absolute most critical phase of any deep breathwork practice, the integration protocol. Coming back to baseline is essential. After you've altered your state, you must ensure a safe landing. The text heavily emphasizes reconnecting to the earth and to your physical body by firmly declaring a grounding script, something like, I am safe, I am present, and I am whole. You are verbally and psychologically anchoring the profound neurobiological changes you just went through.
Section 4. Entering the inner silence.
The texts talk about an ancient contemplative concept called hesychasm. Basically, it's the practice of inner stillness. It's making a deliberate choice to dial down the external stimulation and retreat into what they call the Timaean, or the inner room. I mean, just think about the sheer volume of our modern world for a second. We've got endless notifications, the 24-hour news cycle, billboards everywhere, the constant digital screaming match of social media. The noise outside is so aggressively loud that we actually have to intentionally carve out an oasis. We have to silence the noise so that a much older, deeper internal frequency can finally be heard.
When you finally quiet down that default mode network we talked about earlier, you experience this massive psychological separation. You realize the immense difference between the mind and the listener. The mind is a loud, chaotic river. It judges, it reacts, and it's just constantly projecting into a panicked future or dwelling on a regrettable past. But actually, scratch that. You are not the river. You are the mountain the river flows around. You are the listener at the center, the quiet, receiving witness anchored entirely in the present moment.
And when you anchor yourself in that listener, you realize something truly beautiful about silence. As the text states, silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of unbroken attention. This state we're cultivating, it's not some empty, terrifying void. It is a rich, warm, and highly alive presence. You physically feel it in your body as a radiating warmth right in your core,
a hyper-awareness of the space around you, but completely devoid of any anxiety. It's a sanctuary you deliberately build inside your own nervous system.
If you can sustain this state long enough, the source material describes a really profound, subtle moment called the shift. It's the moment when your nervous system just completely yields. The breath you thought was purely your own active biological function suddenly feels like a dialogue. You shift entirely from active doing to passive receiving. The inhale no longer feels taken by effort, it feels given to you. In this state of pure awe, you tap into what the text beautifully calls the background radiation of existence.
Which naturally leads us to ask, what is your true name in the silence? When that relentless editorial commentary of your beta brain finally shuts off, what does your deepest self actually know to be true? The sources encourage you to just wait in this stillness. You're not forcing a peak experience, you're simply establishing pure presence. And in that space, you begin to recognize your true identity, completely unburdened by your ego, your deadlines, and your stress. And this brings us to a powerfully evocative realization from the text. You do not breathe, you are breathed. It totally underscores the ultimate surrender required at the absolute peak of consciousness modulation. When the biology is perfectly tuned and your brain waves settle, the fragile ego just steps aside. In that quiet intensity, you realize you are being sustained and held by something so much larger than your own conscious effort.
So I'm going to leave you with this thought. The map is laid out for us. The neurobiology is proven. The practices we've discussed are incredibly simple, and they are entirely within your control. If your breath is the literal doorway to this incredible sanctuary of awareness, what exactly are you waiting for to step through? Take a breath. I'll see you next time.